What is up, awesome people of the internet, and welcome to episode 1 of Women's Basketball Weekly, your weekly source for women's basketball information from all over the world. Each Monday, meet me right here at 6 p.m. Central Time as we talk about the week that was, as well as the week that is to come. In this episode, we are going to recap the Aces versus Liberty game that happened yesterday. We're going to talk about the latest WNBA expansion news and kind of catch you all up of what's happening and things that may be coming down the pike. We're going to celebrate the legacy of WNBA point guard Ticha Penicheiro. We are going to also share the latest women's college basketball news and talk a little bit about the Turkish Women's Super League and the WNBA players who are already balling overseas, even though the WNBA season is technically still not over because we are in the finals. Yeah, lots and lots of stuff to talk about, but let's get into it. But actually, quick before we do, if you could like this video, that would be amazing. It'll kind of help the algorithm and get more people to check this video out because this is our first episode of Women's Basketball Weekly. So help draw more people to it by liking this video. All right, let's get into it. So the Las Vegas Aces, the defending champs from last season, defeated the New York Liberty 99-82 in Game 1 of the WNBA Finals. And this game was really close for the first half of the game. Liberty coach Sandy Brondello went to her bench early and brought in Marine Johannes, and that was a very, very smart move by Sandy Brondello. Marine has been kind of cold for the last several weeks. And she got in the game and she showed out in that first half. She was scoring a bunch of shots and she was kind of doing her normal Marine Johannes thing where when she sees one shot go in, she just starts shooting crazy three-pointers, on one leg three-pointers. Like she was just going off. She would go 4 of 7 from the arc and ended up the game with 14 points. While she was great at the start, she wasn't able to kind of replicate that. She ended up going to the bench, and then when she came back in the third quarter, it was just, she wasn't as productive at all. She wasn't really doing much at all. And that seemed to be just the case for the entire Liberty team. For the Liberty, of course, they got help from MVP Brianna Stewart, who was good, for the most part throughout this game, though. In the second half, she wasn't doing as much. Basically, the entire Liberty team wasn't doing that much in the second half. Jonquel Jones also had a very good game for the first half. She had 16 points and 10 rebounds. And for the Aces, Asia did her thing. She had 19 points in this game. But really, it wasn't about the big players. It wasn't about Stewie. It wasn't about Jonquel. It wasn't about Asia. This game was about the backcourt. It was about the guards who, some who showed up to play and others who did not show up to play. And the Aces backcourt, they were ready to go for this game. You had Chelsea Gray with 20 points. You had Jackie Young with 26. You had Kelsey Plum with 26. And you compare that to the New York Liberty. Benai Delaney had 11. Courtney Vandersloot had 10. Sabrina Ionescu had 7. And Marie Johannes, who came off the bench, had 14. Like this is exactly why the Las Vegas Aces won this game, is because their backcourt showed up, and in the second half, they took it to another level. Their defense stepped up as well as their offense. And for the New York Liberty, they just fell apart after halftime. The game was pretty close. You all probably saw that me and my mom, we were watching the game yesterday, and I posted a video of us kind of talking about it. But it felt like in the second half, the New York Liberty just kind of lost their identity. They just weren't hustling on defense at all. It felt like they were tired. It's like they spent a lot of energy getting around screens and doing a lot of the grunt work in the first half, and then for the second half they were just like, oh, I think I'm done, or they just kind of rolled over, and it was not good. They were really, really overpowered in the backcourt. And there's just a synergy when the Aces defense starts clicking, their offense is on fire, and it just prevents the other team from really getting anything going because the Aces are clicking on all cylinders for offense and defense. The Aces start off the series with a win. Game 2 is this Wednesday in Las Vegas. And remember, the finals is out of 5 games. So game 3 and 4 will be in New York. And game 5 will be in Las Vegas if it comes down to it. It may not actually come down to 5 games, but I'm hoping that it will come down to 5 games. As I mentioned before, I don't care who wins. I just want it to go to 5 games, and I want the game to be determined by like a 5-point margin. Like I want it to be a very, very close series. I think the league wants the New York Liberty to win, just because it feels that way. Just by like all the stuff I've been consuming on like the stuff that like ESPN has been putting out, the WNBA has been putting out. Like it really feels like they want the New York Liberty to win because the New York Liberty is the one team of the original WNBA teams that has still not won a WNBA championship. And New York is sort of like the mecca, one of the meccas of, United States. It's a huge hub for a lot of stuff. And, for their team to have never won is big. And so I think this is supposedly their year. But the New York, even though, the league wants the New York Liberty to win, they still have to play like they want to win. And they still have to hustle hard and actually earn this series victory. So they have a long way to go. Remember, the New York Liberty lost in that first game against the Connecticut Sun in the semifinals and then went on to win the series. So who knows? Maybe the New York Liberty gets it together and, ends up winning the games from here on out against the Las Vegas Aces. But we will see. Let me know your predictions about this series in the comments below. All right, on to another thing. So last week, the WNBA did a thing.
Joe and Peter, if you could come up, I'd like to present you with an official WNBA basketball and make an official welcome to the WNBA.
That is right. Joe Lacob and the Golden State Warriors are now the new owners of a WNBA franchise. There is no name yet for this team that begins play in 2025, but I have seen some very interesting suggestions out here. But one of the names that I've seen over and over again just sort of pop up is the Golden State Amazons or Bay Area Amazons. Or Amazonians. I don't think this is going to be the name because Jeff Bezos has a company called Amazon. And I think he would have something to say about that. And also, I think from a branding perspective, even if Jeff Bezos was okay with it, from a branding perspective, that would be horrible because when people would search for the team, they would, Amazon, the company, would pop up. And that's problematic. You need to pick a name that when someone Googles it, the first thing that pops up is your team, not some other company. So we will see. We'll see what happens with that team name. If y'all have more suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, this is very, very exciting news for the WNBA, especially for the W fans in the Bay Area that finally have a local team to cheer on. I've seen some of the Bay Area natives in my comments, and I'm very, 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 very happy that you all finally have a team that you can cheer on and actually go to the games. With the addition of this no-name Bay Area team, that puts the league with an odd number of teams at 13. And it seems like that 14th team is going to be coming pretty soon. So according to the next Hoops and Howard Megdal, Portland might be the next city to get a WNBA team. So Portland's bid to be included in the next round of expansions has reached the Board of Governors level, which is a huge deal. Making it to the board level is big. That means that like the league is extremely serious about it, and the deal may come pretty soon. According to the Oregonian, the Portland announcement will supposedly come before the end of October. So in the next couple of weeks, there will be an announcement about Portland getting a WNBA team. And if you remember, Portland actually used to have a WNBA team. It was called the Portland Fire. They played in the league for 3 years, from 2000 to 2002, and they did well in terms of attendance. They averaged 35. They averaged 8,500 fans per game, which is pretty good. The team didn't fold from lack of support. They folded because of a financial decision that then team owner Paul Allen made to fold the team. So that was a huge bummer for the fans in Portland who were coming out and supporting this team. Should Portland succeed in getting a team back, I hope they call it the Fire so that that name sort of lives on, because while the Portland Fire didn't do anything in terms of winning a WNBA championship, they had huge fan support. And so it would be nice to have that name come back. And I also like their color scheme. Let me know what y'all think about this color scheme. I thought I liked the green. I really did. So yeah, we'll see what happens when they announce that Portland's going to make that team, and then if they announce the name with that. But it is clear from recent years, just sort of looking at like the sports landscape around America, it's clear that Portland is becoming a hub for women's sports. You can look at the Portland Thorns, who lead the NWSL in yearly attendance just about every single year. The Portland Thorns are killing the game. And they're one of the leaders that's sort of showing how it's done, how to build a fan base. And it seems like the fans in Portland are just ripe, and they're just interested in women's sports. And so I think this new Portland team is going to do very, very well. We'll kind of see how everything goes from here, but I think the WNBA is smart to choose Portland as a team. However, I am kind of bummed that it's not going to be a East Coast team that's chosen. It's going to be 2 West Coast teams. That's fine, because they'll just move. They'll likely just move Minnesota over to the East Coast Conference for the Commissioner's Cup. So it'll work itself out. But I wished that a Eastern team would have gotten selected. But for right now, it seems like we will have 14 teams with the Bay Area team in Portland joining the league in 2025. So that's coming in about 18 months. So this is very, very exciting times for the WNBA. Just something for you all to know, that the most amount of teams that the league has had at one time has been 16 teams. And that was back in 2022 when, surprise, surprise, the Portland Fire were a part of the league. All right, so that is the news, guys, about expansion coming to the WNBA. And before we actually move off this topic, I just want to have some quick updates for you. So you may remember when Kathy Engelbert visited Denver in August to meet with some investors to see about a expansion group, expansion into Denver. Since that meeting that Commissioner Kathy Engelbert had, they've ghosted the ownership group. And they did that because attached to Denver's bid was the fact that this new potential WNBA team would be playing at Denver University's Magnus Arena, which is something that the WNBA did not want to do. The WNBA does not want to play at a college arena. And so that's one of the reasons why Denver is not going to be getting a WNBA team anytime soon, because they would be playing at a college arena. The new Bay Area team is going to be playing at Chase Center. I'm not exactly sure where this new Portland team is going to be playing, but it seems like the WNBA is not interested in having the teams play at college arenas because there's, I guess, a lot of other logistical stuff that has to be worked out. And so that is why Denver is not getting a team. They've been ghosted. They're not getting a team anytime soon. maybe if they redo their bid and have a different location for the games, maybe the WNBA would change their mind. But until then, I am so sorry, people who live in Denver who want to watch WNBA basketball. I guess you're just going to have to continue to travel and watch some games or just watch them on TV. Very, very sorry about that. That's a bummer because I know the Chicago Sky, they play at a college arena and it seems to work out pretty fine. I don't know the back end logistical details, but like it works. So I would hope that the WNBA wouldn't be so opposed to it, but they are. And if you remember all the fanfare about the WNBA expanding to Toronto, in May, we had the WNBA preseason game between the Chicago Sky and the Minnesota Lynx that sold 20,000 tickets at Scotiabank Arena, which is where the Raptors play in Toronto. You may also recently have heard about the WNBA-themed outdoor court that was also built in Toronto. So with all that fanfare, you may be thinking, Toronto, I guess, is getting a team pretty soon. Well, that is not happening. Toronto is not getting a WNBA team anytime soon, probably not for the next 8 years or so, because it has been reported that Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment has pulled out of negotiations with the WNBA. And if you don't know, the Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment Group is a multi-billion-dollar organization that owns the Toronto Raptors of the NBA. They own the Maple Leafs of the NHL. They own Toronto FC of the MLS and a bunch of other sports teams. Basically, anything in Toronto that's related to sports is owned by this group. So the question is, why did Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment drop out of this deal? Because, from May on, it seemed like it was WNBA fanfare galore in Toronto. It turns out that the owners and the board of directors couldn't agree to make it happen. And one of the sticking points was that the WNBA wanted basically to be in Scotiabank Arena. And they wanted to ensure that the WNBA didn't get, they wouldn't have to worry about the WNBA competing against concerts and other stuff that would happen in the arena. These entertainment groups make a lot of money from concerts happening at arenas. And so that was a sticking point. Also, there's one of the owners is selling a part of their share. And so there's a lot of other back end stuff that's happening. So I think it'll take a while for Toronto to get a team. But for the time being, they have dropped out of the bid. And Toronto fans, I guess you will have to cheer on the Minnesota Lynx because I guess that's the closest team that you really have. I would recommend you actually be a Chicago Sky fan because that's even better. But yeah, I'm sorry that you all will not be getting a WNBA team. Though, from a logistical standpoint, this is probably the best thing for the league because, they already have an issue with the Los Angeles Sparks getting to New York for games. The idea of these teams traveling across country lines, even though it's just Canada, is something that I think what is like sort of the idea of WNBA teams traveling over country lines all the time is just something that I think the league still needs to work out. So it's probably a good thing that the WNBA will not be expanding to Toronto, though it's a bummer for all the fans who were really looking forward to it. All right, guys, so that was your weekly expansion update. Now on to the segment that I am calling In the History Books, where I talk about historical and legendary women's basketball players and games that I feel like we may have forgotten as women's basketball fans, and I want to just highlight them in this particular segment. And since we've already spent some time talking about the Bay Area, let's go a little bit further north to Sacramento, and let's talk about one of the former WNBA teams, the Sacramento Monarchs. And we're going to specifically focus on their star player, the number 2 player in the 1998 draft, Ticha Penicheiro. Now, we all know and love watching players like Chelsea Gray and Courtney Vandersloot and even Sue Bird when she was still in the league. We love watching them do their thing as point guards. We enjoy watching the behind-the-back passes, the no-look passes, the passes that you're like, what? How did she see that person to be able to pass the ball and right in the pocket for the person to get that shot? Like, we've all said that and all have marveled over the point guards that have played in the WNBA. But before those players was Ticha Penicheiro. Ticha Penicheiro was an elite facilitator in the WNBA and just truly a phenomenal player and just seemed to be a great human being as well. Ticha Penicheiro is from Portugal, and from a young age, she gravitated to basketball instead of soccer, which was very, very popular in her home country. Her dad played basketball and was also her coach for a particular period of time. Her brother also played basketball. He was actually a pro basketball player. And young Ticha loved basketball. And she would spend hours outside at a local park just getting better every single day, day after day, playing until it got dark, until her mom called her inside. She loved basketball, and she always wanted to play basketball. At one point, she was playing on a team with all boys because there were no girls who were interested in playing basketball. Ticha was so good that she started playing for the Portugal national team at the age of 16. And a chance encounter that she had with American player Allison Green ended up leading Ticha to attend Old Dominion, a school that she'd never heard of before that time.
When I was 16, so it's like 1992, we were playing in the professional league in Portugal, and this lady that at the time she graduated from Dartmouth and she went to play professional in Portugal. Her name is Allison Green. And after the game, she came up to me and she was like, oh my God, you're so good. Like, you need to go to the States. I was like, I want to. I just don't know how to go about it. And she was just like, okay, give me your number. So 2 years later, she became the assistant coach at Old Dominion. So she told the coaches, you guys have to go to Portugal and, and recruit this girl. Like, she's
and
good.
That's how Old Dominion
That's what I was going to say. How did that come into play? Like, that's crazy.
It's crazy. If she would have became an assistant coach somewhere else, I probably would have gone there.
So that was that. She traveled 4,000 miles away from home and balled out for the Old Dominion Lady Monarchs. There she won CAA's Player of the Year award twice. She was a two-time Kodak All-American in 1997 and 1998. She won the Wade Trophy as well and led her team to the 1997 NCAA championship game. And when her career was over at Old Dominion, she left as the all-time steals leader, as well as the second all-time in assists. And she was just a great player in college. And when it came time for her to leave college, the WNBA came about at the right time.
I think the first thing I thought was like, I wonder if I can play in it, if I'm good enough to play in it, right?
And spoiler alert, Ticha was good enough. Ticha was drafted with the second pick in the 1998 draft to the Sacramento Monarchs. And surprise, surprise, she knew where she was going before the draft was announced.
So we were in this studio in New Jersey, and they were like, you going to Utah? You going to Sacramento? So we already knew, but then it was like, so when the cameras start rolling and we call your name, just act surprised. So I remember being like, oh, I'm going to Sacramento. So this is how much he has evolved. Now he's live on TV, and there's red carpet.
The real reactions now.
But that was cool.
Yeah, so times have definitely changed because now players do not know where they're getting drafted, or at least we think they don't know where they're getting drafted. So then, from then on, Ticha was still a Monarch. She went from being a lady Monarch to just a regular Monarch, now in Sacramento. And she then goes on to have a phenomenal career. She becomes the first player in WNBA history to record 2,000 assists. She was named to the all-decade team for the WNBA. She was the all-time leader in steals for the WNBA. She was also named one of the WNBA's top 25 players ever. And during her time with the Monarchs, she led her team to a WNBA championship in 2005. She played for the Monarchs from 1998 till the team folded in 2009.
Yeah, I was actually in the practice facility. So it was the off season. It was like around November. It was right before Thanksgiving. And I had surgery on my thumb. So I was just recovering and I just finished working out. I go back to my locker and I have a message from like one of the ladies that work for us. And she was like, Ticha, call me when you get this. And I'm like, so I call and she was like, hey, I have something to tell you. Like, the Maloofs decided that, the owners decided they don't want to have the team anymore. So we about to fold. And I'm like, what?
Like, what does that mean?
I'm like, nah. So, and then the process is, so it did happen. And then this is November. So the next season, we have to wait until April or May. If you were not under contract, which I was not, then I'm a free agent right away. So then I had to decide where am I going to go next. So it was between actually San Antonio and LA. So I ended up going to LA and I played 2 years with the Sparks.
And so like she said, she went to the Los Angeles Sparks for 2 years. She played from 2010 to 2011. And then she finished off her career in 2012 when she retired with the Chicago Sky and sort of passed the torch on to Courtney Vandersloot as the one of the newer point guards on the rise. Sis leader, instead of becoming a coach or a scout or something like that, she decided to become a basketball agent with SIG Sports, where she represents players as an agent and also serves as the agency's director of women's basketball. SIG represents players like Candace Parker, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquil Jones, Ryan Howard, Alana Smith, Kalia Copper, Ashley Owusu, and others. So yeah, she is representing a lot of top talent when it comes to women's basketball. And to sort of wrap this section up, Ticha Penicheiro was one of those players who was very good during her time. And she's one of those players that has kind of led a future generation of women basketball point guards to really do their thing with flash and pizzazz. And so that's why I feel like she needs to be acknowledged and remembered for what she brought to the game and how she elevated women's basketball one flashy pass after another. And now, through her agency, she is still pushing the game forward. And this time, it's one contract signed after another. All right, so guys, that is the spiel about Ticha Penicheiro. Of course, there's way more to talk about her and her career and just sort of her trajectory in life and just sort of reminiscing on how phenomenal of a player she really was. Now, I want you all to know where I got these clips that I featured. I got them from the Knuckleheads podcast by the Players Tribune. I really, really love this episode with Ticha Penicheiro. I will actually link that full episode in the description below. Now I'm telling y'all, like, this episode is a great 45-minute conversation that y'all can listen to. Y'all can either watch the video on YouTube or, like I said, it's a podcast, so you can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. I highly recommend it. It was a great conversation, and I was able to learn a lot more about Ticha Penicheiro by watching that conversation. So highly recommend that. And I really want to know, guys, in the comments, have you all ever heard of Ticha Penicheiro? Have you watched her play in the past? And if you have, just kind of talk about the player that you thought she was and the legacy that she sort of left behind in the league. And also, if you haven't heard of Ticha Penicheiro, let me know what you think about her now. She just, it's kind of hard to sort of talk about how great she was, because all there is to say is she was before her time in terms of the flashiness and the respect that she gets for it, that like players nowadays get for it. She kind of modeled her game after Magic Johnson a little bit. Magic Johnson was one of the players that she watched as a kid, And you can kind of tell, just sort of thinking back on like watching her play, like you can kind of tell that she had that magic flair to her. Truly phenomenal player. I would highly recommend you all go back in the WNBA archives and watch some of those Sacramento Monarchs games, or even watch some of the games that she played for with the Sparks or the Chicago Sky in her last season. That wasn't like the top of her game because her peak had kind of already went, but she was still really good. So that was Ticha Penicheiro. All right, so on to the next. Guys, I am not sure if you realize this, but we are just a couple weeks away from the official start of women's college basketball. And the crowd goes wild, which is very, very exciting for us as women's basketball fans, because what's better than women's college basketball? In advance of the season, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, just sort of talking about some of the major conferences. So the Big Ten has released their television assignments for the year, and all 126 conference games will be on national television for the 10th season in a row. Very exciting news. For the first time ever, the Big Ten Women's Basketball Tournament Championship will be televised on a broadcast platform, with CBS airing the game on March the 10th. And the game will also be available on Paramount+. Partners for the Big Ten women's basketball coverage for this season include Peacock, Fox, FS1, CBS, Paramount+, and of course the Big Ten Network. Now, if you're a fan of Iowa, Indiana, Ohio State, or any of the other Big Ten schools and want to watch the games, I would say your best bet is to watch YouTube TV, which is likely going to give you the most or almost all of the Big Ten games this year. And I actually have YouTube TV, and that's what I plan on using and recording every single game I possibly can and watching as many of them as I possibly can. Also, YouTube TV, the DVR is unlimited, so you can just kind of record anything you want. So recording every single women's basketball game is a smart deal because it doesn't matter. Just record it, and if you can watch it, watch it. All right, guys, you can watch the Big Ten Network this upcoming Sunday, October the 15th, as they cover Iowa's game against DePaul as they play an exhibition game dubbed the Crossover at Kinnick. This is a game where Iowa will play on their football field. Me and my mom are going to be planning on going there, and you can kind of take a look at the coverage that we will have on that game right here on this channel. But also, if you want to watch the game live, watch the Big Ten Network, and you'll be able to watch that game. So that is this Sunday, October the 15th, as Iowa plays DePaul in Iowa on their football field. So the game itself is not like DePaul versus Iowa, an exhibition game. It's not that big of a deal, but playing on a football field in front of 40,000 plus fans is a big deal. So that should be a very, very fun game. That is this Sunday. All right, on to the SEC. The SEC is holding their SEC Tip-Off 24 in Birmingham, Alabama on October the 18th and October the 19th. If you have the SEC Network, you'll be able to watch this 2-day event live. And now this is a combination of both of the women's and men's teams in the SEC. Now remember, this media day does not feature every single player on every single team. It's just 2 players that represent each team. For Tennessee, it is going to be 5th-year senior Mikiah Jackson and senior Tess Darby, who will be representing the Lady Vols. Sophomore Janiah Barker and senior Aisha Kubali will be representing Texas A&M. And the Gamecocks will be represented by junior Bree Hall and newbie to the team, senior Tahina Pow. LSU would be represented by sophomore Flajie Johnson and junior Angel Reese. And you can see the other players representing their teams on the screen right here. I will also put a list of the players participating in the description of the YouTube video. So games featuring SEC schools officially start on November the 6th as South Carolina faces Notre Dame in Paris. That game will be on ESPN at 1 o'clock on November the 6th. And also, LSU faces Colorado that same day at 7:30 p.m. There is no word on if that game will actually be on national TV. Once I find out, I will let you all know because I want to watch that game. All right, now on to the ACC. The ACC recently released their conference schedule, and all 135 ACC regular season conference games will be available on the ESPN family of networks. Very, very exciting. 86 of those games will be available on the ACC network in particular. The other games will be available on ACC Network Extra or the CW, which will televise ACC games for the first time this season. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I personally have not watched the CW since I was a teenager. So these games are going to get me to go back to that channel to watch it. I am very curious to see what the CW is actually playing on TV nowadays. So I guess I'll see that before and after these games are over. And also, another thing to note is that this year marks the beginning of the ACC SEC Challenge. That challenge takes place from November the 29th through the 30th, and all 14 women's basketball games will air on ESPN's network. The challenge features 3 Final Four teams from last season in LSU, South Carolina, and Virginia Tech. And as you all can see on the screen, there will be some good games played across these two days. The games that I am personally most interested in are Notre Dame versus Tennessee, Louisville versus Ole Miss, Virginia Tech versus LSU. So those 3 are the ones that I'm checking out for. I'm curious, do you all plan on watching any of these games? Let me know in the YouTube comments. All right, and finally, for NCAA College Watch, let's talk about the Pac-12. This is the last year of the Pac-12 as we know it, so let's kind of savor this year and savor the Pac-12 and kind of keep it in our heads as we see it kind of float away and sort of disappear into nothingness. For those of you all who do not know, the Pac-12 has imploded over the last several months and no longer will exist in any recognizable form next year. It will take too long to actually properly explain this. But for what you kind of need to know right now is that the teams are separating, or the schools are separating from the Pac-12 in order to make more money from football. And because football rules college sports nowadays, all the other teams are going to split as well. So it's not just football that's leaving the Pac-12. It's football's taking everybody else with them and going to other conferences. All right, so here's the laydown of where schools are going. USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are headed to the Big Ten. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah are going to the Big 12. And Stanford and Cal are headed to the ACC. And as of right now, Oregon State and Washington State are the only 2 schools that will be conferenceless come next year, unless they figure it out, which they will. I think they already kind of have conferences lined up, but it's not confirmed yet. All right, so with that all being said, the Pac-12 is still moving ahead for this season at least, holding their media day in Las Vegas on Tuesday, October the 10th, so tomorrow. Coaches and 2 players from each program will be participating in this media day, and you'll be able to watch this coverage live across the Pac-12 networks, Pac12.com, and the Pac-12 Now app. Some of the notable players participating in this media day are Stanford's Cameron Brink and Hannah Jump, Colorado's Frida Foreman and Quay Miller, and UCLA's Emily Beswar and Angela Dugalic. And again, you'll be able to watch these interviews live should you want to watch them on the Pac-12 network, their website, as well as their app. So that just about wraps up this week's women's college basketball update. Yes, there are more conferences that I could talk about, and more storylines to discuss. And each week, the goal is to do just that and dive a little bit more into a little bit different stuff. But that is it for this week. All right, guys, and let's finally wrap this episode up talking about overseas basketball. While the WNBA is wrapping up this season, many WNBA players on teams that are not named the Liberty and Aces are already on to the next and are either playing on a team overseas or are in the works to do so pretty soon. Each week, we're going to focus on a different aspect of off-season play. And in this week, we're going to focus on the KBSL, aka the Turkish Super League. The league has a regular season and playoffs, and a very interesting thing about this league is that the lowest two ranked teams at the end of each season get relegated to the TKBL, which is a lower tier. So you have the KBSL, aka the Turkish Super League, that is the top tier for women's basketball in Turkey, and then you have the TKBL, which is the second tier. So when teams get relegated, they move down there, and then the top two teams for the TKBL gets moved up to play for the KBSL. And so if you're familiar with European soccer, that relegation formula, like it makes sense. It probably makes sense to you. If you don't, just look up relegation European soccer and you'll kind of learn a little bit about regulations. All right, so European powerhouse and 17-time Super League champs Fenerbahce is off to a great start so far with 5 wins in league play so far. The team is led by Emma Miesemann, formerly of the Chicago Sky and also the Washington Mystics. Emma is averaging 14 points and 5 assists so far. Other WNBA players that play on Fenerbahce include Kayla McBride, Nicolina Milic, and Nafisa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx. And in other league news, the Chicago Sky's Alana Smith is off to an amazing start with her team IMLAC. So far, she's averaging a double-double with 28.5 points a game and 10 rebounds. So far, her team is 3-2 on the season. Dana Evans of the Chicago Sky is also off to a great start. She plays for, I'm going to say this wrong, but I'm going to try, Besiktas. This is a team that is also 3-2 for the season. And Dana is averaging 27 points a game. This past Sunday, Dana Evans and 9th-ranked Besiktas defeated Shitori Walker-Kimbrough and her team, at the bottom of the league, Mikiah. Both players did very well in this game. Dana Evans ended up scoring 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. And Shitori Walker-Kimbrough had 25 points and 4 assists. Kiki Herbert Harrigan, formerly of the South Carolina Gamecocks and also the Minnesota Lynx, was announced as Round 4's Player of the Week. She plays for Galatasaray, and so far, she's averaging 15 points and 8 rebounds this season. Myisha Hines-Allen of the Washington Mystics also plays for Galatasaray, and she's played 2 games so far, averaging 15 points. Other players of the week for the Super League include Linda Weaver, who is averaging 18 points and 8 rebounds this season. Center Esra Ural Topaz, who plays for Olmanspor. She has averaged almost about a double-double for the season with 11.2 points, and 9.6 rebounds per game. And the Round 4 Player of the Week went to Kelsey Bone, who is averaging a double-double this season with 27.2 points a game and 11 rebounds. So that's kind of generally your recap for what's happening in Turkey's highest women's basketball league, the Turkish Super League. Now, one thing to note is that WNBA players overseas get a lot of points. Like you heard how many points Dana Evans is getting, how many points Alana Smith is getting. This is what happens in the Turkish league and also in European leagues in general. Women's basketball players from the WNBA are the top players on a lot of these teams. And that's just how it is. So I will try my best to keep you all up to date of what's happening in the different leagues. I will highlight a couple of other leagues as the weeks go on. But let me know if there's a particular team or a particular league or even a topic about European basketball or just overseas basketball in general that you all want me to talk about. And I will cover that in a future episode. All right, guys, that is it. You all made it to the end of episode 1 of Women's Basketball Weekly. Thank you all so much for making it to end this video because this is a long video. I've been wanting to make a show for a little bit. And I was just like, hey, let's just make it now. Let's make it happen. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in women's basketball, and it's quite a bit to just make a separate video for every single thing. And so I'm trying to go with this as a model where I just sort of talk about a lot of stuff in one episode. And you all can kind of either listen to the entire thing or kind of pick and choose what you're interested in and listen to that. Let me know what you all think about the format of the show, what you all think about the production of this show. My goal is to get better and better and better as time goes on. I am the sole person who's doing all the research for these videos, the sole person doing the writing for these videos. Of course, I'm the sole person like actually recording it. And I am the sole person making all the edits. So there's quite a bit of work. And I am just one person who does not have the most knowledge in the world about how stuff like this is done. And so if you all have suggestions and critiques, please let me know because I am very much happy to hear them because I know that this is not the best product right as it is right now. And so let me know how I can improve. And I would greatly appreciate that. You all are truly awesome for making it to the end of this video. Thank you all so much for rocking with me for the last several months. So yeah, I really thank y'all for rocking with me. Some of y'all have been rocking with me since April, which is like crazy. That's when I kind of started this thing, and now we're several months in and doing a whole freaking show, which is kind of cool. Thank y'all so much. This channel would not be what it is without the amazing community that has been formed already. I know this isn't all the people who love women's basketball. There's a lot more other people who love women's basketball that have not joined this community yet. But for those who are here, I am so grateful and so appreciative of you all for really making this channel amazing. Because like me talking, that's whatever. Like who cares? But it's the community that's formed in the comments. Where people are replying to each other and we're having arguments and we're discussing what's happening in the league and what's happening in women's basketball in general. And I love that. Like I really do. And I am so grateful for all of you all for rocking with me. I really appreciate it. If you have not liked this video, I ask that you please like it. It helps bring more people to this episode. And y'all just let me know, is this something that y'all interested in? I try to do stuff that I think would be helpful for me as just a normal women's basketball fan. And so, let me know if y'all actually are interested in this concept of doing these episodes. You all are awesome. I really appreciate it. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments below about just the different stuff that I talked about, and give me suggestions, please. Critical suggestions are awesome. I have thick skin, so let me know. Truly, let me know your thoughts about this style and about this channel in general. All right, again, thank you all so much. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. And until next time, guys. Bye.